CBS News and the Washington Post have obtained President Trump's phone call records from January 6th, but there are nearly 8 hours, including during the time of the attack, where no phone call was recorded. CBS News' Robert Costa, who broke this story along with the Washington Post's Bob Woodward, has confirmed at least 2 phone calls during that time period, and it's raising questions about why they weren't logged, as required by law, and what phones the president was using when he made those calls. For more, let's bring in Robert Costa, CBS News' chief election and campaign correspondent, about a story that dominated this city today. Robert, first of all, let's set this up. Walk us through the timeline of what you and Bob Woodward uncovered.
Scott, great to be with you as always. So we have found 11 pages of documents that have been obtained by the House January 6 committee. And these 11 pages show what's called the Presidential Daily Diary, as well as a call log from the White House switchboard. They do show some new information, calls Trump made on the morning of January 6th to Rudy Giuliani, Steve Bannon, his former advisor, before he made a call to Mike Pence. But there's a lot of information that's not there. You have a call with Vice President Pence that morning that's very well known in other reports, including my own, but it's not listed in the log. And the biggest gap is 7 hours, 37 minutes between around 11:17 a.m. on January 6th until the early evening. We just don't know what the president was doing during that period beyond recording a video and who he was calling.
Among the many things that jumps out in your reporting was the former president's denial of knowing what a burner phone is. Explain what role a burner phone plays in this and what more you've learned about that.
So we've heard, based on our reporting, that the committee is looking into whether this gap in other omitted records are because President Trump or someone close to him scrubbed the record, and if not that, was it because the calls were being made on outside lines, maybe on staffers' personal phones, other phones that were bought at convenience stores that are so-called burner phones, which are disposable personal phones that are not meant to be used for a long period, but enable people to have calls without being tracked in the government record. That's what the committee's looking into as it continues interview after interview and tries to finalize its report.
Last night, the committee's vice chair, Liz Cheney, says there will be public hearings. We'll hear from key witnesses, but it'll happen in the coming months. These were hearings initially projected for February. So we wait for information. Is there a chance we could learn more about that 7-hour phone record gap before this committee wraps up its work?
Benny Thompson, the chairman, who you've been covering so well, he just told reporters that they still need to find out more information about what Trump was doing on January 6th, even though they've gotten the records from the National Archives. They're talking to a lot of people around the president. The problem they have is the records are incomplete, and so many people coming before this committee are pleading the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination, and they're not able to put together the entire puzzle at this point, so they've held off on the hearings. What's intriguing to me, and it seems to be to you as well, is that these were scheduled for earlier in the year, but whether it's the Ginny Thomas text messages or the lack of information about Trump's schedule and movements and calls on January 6th, there's still very much, it seems, to be an investigative phase. This is not in a finalization phase. They're still doing depositions, having interviews, seeking out new information, and that's a little tricky for the committee as the midterm elections near.
Yeah, with hundreds of interviews already and tens of thousands of records collected already, it does seem to shift the timetable if they're still doing intake, still seeking more information and more depositions. We know today White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield talked about Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump and their upcoming testimony before the January 6th committee. Let's take a listen to Kate.
The president has spoken to the fact that January 6th was one of the darkest days in our country's history, and that we must have a full accounting of what happened to ensure that it never occurs again. And he's been quite clear that they posed a unique threat to our democracy, and that the constitutional protections of executive privilege should not be used to shield from Congress or the public information about an attack on the Constitution itself. And so as a result, the White House has decided not to assert executive privilege over the testimony of Jared Kushner.
Robert, what do we think this means for the former first daughter and son-in-law?
Well, we know that Jared Kushner was not really present inside the White House. He was traveling much of January 6th. His daughter, Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner's wife, was there. She did go into the Oval Office a few times, as Bob Woodward and I reported in our book Peril, and tried to kind of calm down Trump at the time. What we're looking at here is a committee that wants to speak in particular to Ivanka Trump about what she said to Trump that day, but also Jared Kushner about how familiar he was with the efforts around Trump to overturn the election, sometimes spearheaded by Trump. And we're trying to just find the truth, Scott. For example, Trump gave us that statement about burner phones, saying he's never heard the term, never used the term, not even aware of what it means on Monday night. And then on Tuesday, CBS News got a call from National Security Advisor John Bolton, the former NSA for Trump, and he said, wait a minute, Trump knows burner phones. I've discussed burner phones with Trump when discussing intelligence reports. We know exactly, he knows exactly what they are, that they're phones used to avoid scrutiny in public record. And he went on the record with CBS News to say that Trump's statement to CBS News and the Washington Post on Monday night that he doesn't know what burner phones are and has no idea what might have been going on is not credible. So this is a moving story, a fast-moving story, fluid, and we'll just keep at it.
And a growing story 15 months later. I know you're exceptionally busy today, Bob. Thanks for your time.
Scott, always a pleasure. Thank you.